Perfect.
Preparing to live stream the meeting, setting up your meeting. Done. Redirecting YouTube.
Yeah, we're live. Cool. So we can start the show.
Okay, hold on a sec. I got this other show that I have people on. I'm going to tell them to go over. Okay, everybody, this is Crypto Hawk. We're going to start the show. It's on a different channel. So I'm going to end this broadcast of this live stream. Go back in, find my live shows, and I'll see you in about 15 seconds. Okay, that show should have ended. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Crypto Hulk Show. We're getting started here. Let me get this thing situated. So I had a live stream and that is gone. So now some people are going to show up. And Jim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh,
How
okay,
you going?
everybody. Hey, everybody. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check really quick my live stream page on YouTube. I just want to see
Yeah.
how
I
it's
just I just
looking.
had a look. It's live. There's tons of people messaging in the comments, so we're all good.
Okay, it shows all good. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Crypto Hulk Show. I've gotten a lot of questions over the week, either on live shows, on my phone, or whatever, when I'm checking the YouTube. And it's about, I hear questions about wallets, exchanges, and all kinds of things. And then there's specific questions about Caleb Brown questions. So here's what we got. We got a show probably it was about 2 weeks ago. We had a show. It was on 2 Thursdays ago. Today is going to be Wednesday, but in about 2 weeks from now, it'll probably be a Wednesday. Generally, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time is when I like to start these shows. So I'm going to just start off. This is an open show. Um, Crypto right now, they're getting all consolidated. These companies are hooking up. From what I've been showing you guys, the biggest corporations are coming into crypto. We're getting close to having licenses for these companies. Real world utilization is coming in. This crypto stuff, when it's a nickel, 2 cents, a dollar, look, what we have is this is a perfect time from what I see if you have some risk in you, and that is to watch my programs. I show you all the news articles on how all these companies are getting into cryptocurrency, specifically the stock markets. They're all starting to utilize a sandbox. We learned in Argentina, we got Mica in Europe. This is a sandbox where cryptocurrencies will be used to facilitate real world asset transfers. Money transfers value. You go to buy a house in a real estate with a real estate company. It's going on an internet utilizing tokens. We just read how PayPal, everybody's going to use tokens. And today we have somebody from a crypto exchange here who's a broker, and there's benefits that we have to having a broker, a real brokerage that we can deal with, rather than a crypto exchange where you go to call up, you got somebody where it's just a disaster. And then a lot of these exchanges, there's nobody to call. Nobody picks up the phone. Disaster happens. Your account doesn't work. At least in Caleb Brown, we have somebody we can call up and say, I need help. So today it's going to be question and answer, and we're going to go right into this. So I'm going to start at the beginning and look at people's names and then start reading off questions. So we got the Force showed up, Michael G, Danny Boy, Ram Hernandez, Salarina. And let me get and see if we got any questions. Are we here? Where am I? Says Stu Lavelle. We're in the Matrix. Okay, John C has a question. If you have made an account and deposited crypto, are you grandfathered in if you change to credit investors only? I guess the person's asking if there's probably going to be a day, or I don't know, but if there will be a day when crypto changes as a whole globally, because right now we're still very early in crypto. I don't know if we have answers to some of these questions, but if a day were to come where certain cryptos are only for accredited investors, are we grandfathered in at Caleb and Brown? Jim, have they talked about anything about that?
Um, not to that specifically. I think the question is maybe around if the day comes where we only accept clients that are of an accredited investor level, whether they'd be grandfathered into that. If that was to be the case, like I don't think we will ever be in a scenario where we'll refuse clients based on their net worth or how much they're holding with us. The whole reason we built this business is to ensure that we can provide an institutional level like service, but one that's actually accessible for everyone in the crypto space. A lot of what we do, as you mentioned, is around the education of crypto for new people in this space, crypto native people as well. So that's really part of the MO of this business. So there's never going to be a scenario where we would say no to clients based on whether they're an institutional investor or what have you. In terms of cryptos, whether you need to be a certain net worth, I think that would go against kind of the whole ethos of the crypto space in general and how the blockchain works. It'd be a little difficult to refuse people to buy assets based on how much money they already have. Again, I don't know, maybe that will happen in the future. I don't know if that's something we would even list. I haven't heard any projects that would go down that path, just simply because it would be hard for the liquidity perspective of it, for the growth of the project if you're only requiring high net worth people to invest in it. But as a business at Calvin Brown, I don't see any scenario really ever where we would refuse clients based on whether they're an institutional investor or an accredited investor. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay, so that was from John C. And then Dimitri J. Puknov, thank you very much for that donation. Let me check the comments here for the next question. Feel the whiteboard, you know. Okay, next one is from Digital Slim Jim. Jim, how does Caleb and Brown decide which cryptos they will offer on their brokerage?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The short answer is there's a whole range of factors. We list currently around 350 crypto assets. That's growing by the week. We have an operations team here that does their due diligence on all assets that get requested by either our clients or either partners like Hulk here, where we'll never go say no to going through that actual process of reviewing assets that our clients want us to list. But there's a whole range of factors. And I would say the main one that we predominantly look at is how liquid is the asset. So if our clients buy in and they buy in at size, when the day comes where they've done really well and maybe they're in the profit and they want to sell out, they're able to do so successfully without moving the market or without having a negative result. So liquidity of the asset is really important. How easy is it for us to buy and sell for our clients? That's a really big one. Another big one is just we do constant reviews around, is there actually any utility to this asset? Is it just a meme coin that's purely speculative, or is there actual utility behind it? Are they building something interesting that has a use case? Are the founders docs within the project? What are the tokenomics like? There's a whole range of factors that we go through in terms of whether we list something. But what I would say is that if we don't list an asset that you currently think we should, please feel free to reach out to Hulk, and Hulk will let me know, and we'll go through that process of doing our research on them. We just don't want to list an asset that then our clients buy, and then it turns into a rug pull, and all of a sudden our clients have lost all their money. That's just not the user experience we want to have for our clients. And unfortunately, that happens quite often in crypto. So at the end of the day, we'll always go with assets that we ensure we have confidence in that our clients can get a good result from.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like sometimes a customer wants to buy a certain crypto really, really bad, and then they're going to dump a bunch of money and they want to have it. But then what if it's a rug pull? And then like, you motherfuckers, I got ripped off. So it's kind of like customers are like crazy sometimes. And it's kind of like you guys have to have a list of maybe 10 to 15 different metrics that you got to follow. And it doesn't matter how bad a customer wants something, it's got to be correct. It's got to be business smart. And
Hmm.
if you want to get into like junk investing, there's plenty of websites for that. I what I tell people is this: if Caleb Brown doesn't have it, then it's generally something probably I personally don't want to buy. Um, what I'll do is I'll do research on different projects. And what I tell people is if I give it 2 thumbs up and Caleb Brown sells it, that's a pretty good bet that it's, you know, a safe purchase. You never know right now, at least, because we're still not even in regulations yet and so forth. But like in Europe, if MICA, market in crypto assets, I think they have like 10 or 15 crypto exchanges. That's it. Um, Not that many. So with MICA, what they're kind of doing is shutting down a lot of the scammy, spammy products. Now, there's no 100% shutdown just yet, but there, I mean, just look at the stock market. You got Bernie Madoff and Enron. And so in the stock market, you're going to have rug pulls. You can't eliminate that. That's just how it goes. So what Jim was trying to say is they have a lot of, you have to meet a lot of qualifications before Caleb Brown will have it for sale. So that's good. I would be kind of shocked if Caleb Brown was selling stuff. Like some crypto exchanges will sell whatever you want, and that's one way
Hmm.
to go. But if I see Caleb Brown, me personally, and I'm not, if I see they're selling it, then I'm like, well, okay, it's probably legit if they got it. But it doesn't mean it's, oh, it's going to be safe and I'm not going to get rug pulled. You get rug pulled in the stock market. So it don't matter where you go. I think what Caleb Brown's trying to do is reduce the likelihood of a rug pull or something that's illiquid or not liquid enough or you can't get out of it. So anyhow, let's go to the next question here. Um, let's see. I don't always. Danny Boy is like, hey, Jim, I need to talk to Sean about transferring some crypto. Can you have him call me, please? So, what's your message to Danny Boy?
Okay, yeah, Danny Boy. The first thing I would say is, and I assume you've probably done this, is reach out to Sean. So send him an email. He'll be your direct line when it comes to anything in relation to your personal account. If you've reached out to him and for some reason he hasn't gone back to you, what I'll do is I'll type my email into the chat. I don't know who you are as other than Danny Boy, so I'll need to find out your email or something that I can identify your account with. And then I'll reach out to Sean and I'll get him to reach out to you. So I'll put my email in the chat now. Please feel free just to email me with just your name and the email of your Calum Brown account. And I'll follow it up with Sean.
Okay, next we got a question. We've heard it before, but then again, I get new people that join the channel all the time. So, when will Caleb Brown be able to operate in New York?
Yeah, I feel like we get this question every week. At this stage, there's no immediate plans for us to operate in New York. Unfortunately, it's the only state within the US we don't operate in, and it's due to the requirements of a bit license. Without boring you too much, but it's an incredibly onerous and expensive license for us to get. I think there's maybe only 5 or 6 crypto companies that have this asset. Some loan it out, but at this stage, we aren't in the process of exploring New York. It's a shame because we love everything about New York, our residents there. But at this stage, we don't offer our services to New York residents. In saying that, if you have an entity that's not based in New York or you don't, in the future reside in New York, then please feel free to reach out and we'd be more than welcome to onboarding you to Calvin Brown.
First off, Duke XRP dropped a pretty sizable donation here. Duke's like, love Caleb and Brown. Email gets it done. You can transfer most crypto. Thank you very much. That's a crazy donation, by the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, what I would say just about that is if you're someone on the call that is maybe new to the crypto space, or maybe you just can't be bothered going through the process of going on an exchange. A lot of them are really hard to use, or you don't want to use our portal itself. That's where it's really beneficial. And I know Hulk does this himself. you have your own broker and you have a direct line to their email. So let's just say you hold crypto with us and you want to make a trade and you're lounging on a beach somewhere and you can't be bothered logging into your laptop or your iPad or whatever it may be. You can just email your broker with the trade you want done. They'll get it done within the minute. It'll get executed, and it's just simple and easy. So it's a really easy way to trade and buy crypto through us if you want to go through that route and not have to handle the difficulties of an exchange platform.
Okay. Then we got Positive Waves. Is it true that Caleb Brown will be opening an office in Miami, Florida? And if so, and then somebody wishes Crypto Hulk. I had a birthday like on April 13th. So that's that.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yes, I'm 55 years old. Whew, I'm feeling it. I need to start cold plunging again. I saw a cold plunge. Sometimes I bring random stuff off in my show, but I found a cold plunge from this company, and it's $600 for the motor. I could put it into my bathtub, the tubes and stuff. Sometimes people want to see like what cold plunge I found, and it's Nuvio. If you guys are interested, there's the camera. It's called Nuvio, Nuvio. The motor is $600, so that's a cheap one. It's a 3rd horsepower, and it can chill the water down to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have to do your own conversion to Celsius. Probably like 5 to whatever. I don't know the conversion, but anyhow, this is 600. It used to be like $1,200, the motor. I might consider doing that one for $600. Anyhow, now we're back to the show again. I'll look at maybe ordering it somewhere around maybe May. I'll let you guys know which cold plunge I get and why. And I'm still looking around at different cold plunges. They go up to $1,200, 2,000. So I saw this one was 600. I'm gonna be still looking around. There's another one I'm looking at. Okay, let me back this up to where we were before. Let's see. New York. Okay, we got that one. Okay, somebody's worried about Fireblocks getting hacked. Can Fireblocks be hacked? Can you talk about the safety of it compared to a hardware wallet?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, anything can be hacked, right? I'm never going to say that there's a 0% chance of getting hacked. There's a 0% chance of a lot of things happening, right? But what I would say is that Fireblocks are the preeminent custody solution provider in this space. They are the top of the top when it comes to enforcing security protocols. They're at the cutting edge of all things crypto custody. They've never been compromised, and I think they've been around for probably 7 or 8 years now. So what I would say is that the chances of any hacking are incredibly slim. The other component of it is of how we work with them and how our custody solution works is that if something was to happen to Fireblocks and they were compromised, please rest assured that your assets with Calvin Brown are protected for a couple of reasons. The first one is that we're still the custodian of your assets. So we leverage Fireblocks' custody solution, but ultimately we're the main custodian of your assets. And so if something was to happen to Fireblocks, the way in which transactions are processed is that it requires multi-party computation. So in order for a transaction to get done, it would require approval, obviously, of you as the customer. It would require approval of the custodian, so Calvin Brown. It would also require the approval of Fireblocks and then a trusted third party. So in that scenario, if Fireblocks was to be compromised, that's no worries. If they were to try and approve of whatever transaction, it wouldn't get approved by majority. So in that essence, your assets are safe with us, even if something was to happen to Fireblocks, because we would be able to identify that. We'd have, maker checker processes in place to ensure that your assets still remain protected. But I want to be very, very clear that these guys are the top of the top when it comes to security and custody, and they've never had any issues in their, existence as a business.
Okay, so what I did the other day is we were reading articles on crypto and Fireblocks came up. and I gave the people the Fireblocks website. And what I saw was Fireblocks is advertising over 1,800 banks and financial institutions all around the world are trusting Fireblocks. So here's the deal. Think of it like this. Think of you've got a ledger, right? Or some kind of device. Now think of Fireblocks like 1,800 global banks and institutions trust them. They're not using your ledger wallet. Okay. So when we're talking about 1,800 banks in the world, where do they go? Fireblocks. So me personally, I'm going to look at all the top 1,800 banks in the world and like, you know what? I want to go where they're going. So right now, I don't see any of the top world banks stressing out. And why? Because they got Fireblocks. That's what all the world's banks are going to. 1,800 financial institutions and banks like America's oldest bank, BNY Mellon's invested into them. So me personally, I'm A-okay. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that as you're looking for the next question. They have trillions of assets under management. And as Colt said, they have the top crypto businesses using their custody, but also a lot of banks as well. So rest assured that this is an institutional level custody solution. So it's the top of the top. I'm not saying that that doesn't mean you shouldn't use a hardware wallet. If you're confident and comfortable doing so, that's great. But there are risks involved, right? You essentially become your own bank. There's a lot of benefits in that, but there's also a lot of risks to things like scams. If you get compromised or you lose that wallet, it may be really difficult to recover your assets. So this is just a great alternative and a diversification option for your custody. We don't force our clients to use our custody. It's something that we provide free of charge for you. It's totally up to you and your risk appetite and what you want, how you want to use our service best.
Okay. Next question is from John Del Genio. My question is that if the United States government tries to pull some BS, is there any way that they could seize my crypto if it's in Caleb and Brown? Is it completely safe? Nowhere, anywhere can touch it. Well, I'm going to kind of talk about that, and then maybe Jim, as far as the United States goes, they can do whatever they want. So any bank in the world can do anything that they want. So if you're looking for the untouchable, unless you got a Martian or somebody from planet Uranus or something, the United States can do whatever they want. Jim, they're concerned that the United States government or whatever is going to take their crypto, I guess. What do you even want to answer that question or no?
Yeah, I don't know if there's an easy way to answer that one. We're talking in pretty difficult hypotheticals here. What I would say is that the assets that you hold with us are of your ownership. They're your assets. We would never be legally obliged to hand over a client's assets to the government, whether that's the Australian government or the US government. If that was the case, I think we'd have a lot of other problems around a tyrannical government and things of that nature. So please rest assured that your assets, if you hold them with us, they're stored one for one. You can at any time request to withdraw them, trade them on, swap them out. They're your assets. We just do the custody element for you. So I can't really speak to if a government tried to seize the assets from us, but I don't see that ever being a scenario that would play out.
I mean, that's kind of a, I mean, there's always a possibility, and people just have to understand that governments are going to do what they want to do, and that's just how things go. So anyhow, we have a question. I think we already answered this one. It says, can Fireblocks be hacked? Can you talk about the safety? We already kind of talked about that a little. Sharding. Jim, explain what sharding is, because doesn't Fireblocks use sharding?
Yeah. So that gets back to what I just discussed before around multi-party computation. So with us, when you store assets with Calvin Brown, you will obviously have different wallets dependent on the assets that you hold with us. When you first create an account, if you go through the asset list, you'll see that you have wallet allocations for each asset. What that essentially means is that we protect and store the private key on your behalf. So it's not like if you have a hardware wallet, you got to write down your own private key and store it safely. So we handle that nuisance and the security element for you. But what that essentially means is that your private key, it isn't just held by us. Obviously, as you can imagine, there could be security breaches with that. So how it operates on Fireblocks then is that the private key is actually sharded into multiple sections. So no one full private key is owned by any of those parties that I mentioned before. So we hold a portion of the key, Fireblocks holds a portion of the key, and then a trusted third party that we don't identify just for security reasons, they hold the other third party. They hold the other portion of the private key. So your private key is sharded, and what that essentially means is that, as I mentioned before, if you decide to do a transaction, we need to approve it. You obviously, as the client, need to approve it. Fireblocks approves it, and then this third party approves of it. And then once all four parties in that instance have approved of it, that's when the transaction's approved and it gets done. So sharding is a way in which, and it's a security measure, probably best in practice, that allows you to split up the private key without ever one party having full access to the private key. I hope that makes sense. I could provide more information on it. It's inherently technical, I would say. But I could provide more information on how that all works for anyone on this call that's interested.
Okay. Somebody asks, is Caleb Brown going to allow staking when things take off and earn interest?
Yeah, it's a great question and one that is very common and comes up all the time. At this stage, it's purely just spot investing, so buying assets on the spot market. We are exploring potentially in the future offering staking for clients. It is something that is a bit of a trade-off for our custody, because if we're storing assets in cold storage, and we want to make sure that that's still the case for our custody, but then if we're providing staking as well, is there a trade-off there between protection of assets and then obviously, the commercial benefits of the yield? What I would say is that some assets, it's more defined and mature in terms of the DeFi element. So the example I'd give is, say, Aave or the ETH layer in general. Some other assets like XRP, for example, they've only just started to build out their DeFi capabilities, and there are always risks involved with companies and platforms that are promising a yield on certain assets where the DeFi components aren't actually clearly defined. So we want to make sure that if we're going to offer staking and yield for our clients, that it's actually safe for them clients to do so, and not, you're not getting exposed to counterparty risk, smart contract risk, all of these things. So if you want to stake and you want to earn a yield outside of Caleb Brown, that's great. I would very much suggest having a discussion with your broker first around where you're going to earn that yield, because there are bad actors in this space that we've seen in the past around FTX, Celsius, BlockFi, where they were offering really juicy yields, but it turned out there was actually a lot of risk involved with them. That risk ended up being a lot worse than was originally anticipated. So at this stage, no, but something we're looking at exploring in the future.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of times, if people have been watching my show for a while, like staking, no. Like, look, now this is Crypto Hulk show, and we're having a guest, a brokerage guest here. But just on my show, and I'm speaking for my show only, and what I tell people that watch my show is that, look, I just want my stuff locked up. I'm not trying to earn interest on a $2 XRP when that stuff's like $1,000, whatever, one day when it gets up that high. But everybody's trying to like do something, and that's how you get wrecked. What the goal is don't do anything. Don't mess it up. You have a good thing going already. You got Caleb Brown. You got institutional custody, the same that BNY Mellon has. BlackRock trusts BNY Mellon for custody, and BNY Mellon has, I'm sure, part of their custody in Fireblocks. And it's like, don't do stuff that's going to get you wrecked, okay? So that's all this stuff comes from other channels. These other channels talk about doing this, doing that, and it's like, don't do anything. And then when they come to my channel, I tell them, don't do anything. That's how I don't get wrecked. I've not got wrecked, hacked, nothing at all in 5 years. I don't think I haven't even lost money at all, because I bought in on most all my cryptos when they're low. So I have a great record of investing for me personally. Haven't lost anything. Now, when the market goes up and down, it's a little tricky, but at one point, basically I bought in at things are low. So don't do anything. Just buy the crypto on Caleb Brown, let it ride in there, and don't do anything stupid. All right. Somebody has a question called, their name is Steady Ready, and their question is, how high can you set your limit order for cryptos?
We have no limits in terms of how high or how low you want to set them. We allow for you to do that either through the broker. I do think if it gets above a certain percentage, let's just say you have a really lofty goal in terms of buying or selling an asset, you know, 10 times the price from what it currently is, we usually recommend that our clients do that themselves through the portal. Just because, as you can imagine, we have a lot of clients and there are people setting orders all the time. But there's no limits. So you can set whatever buy order, whatever sell order, whatever price you want for a particular asset. And we won't delete them as well. So that's something we've seen on, I think it was Coinbase have done it a few times where after a period of time, they'll actually just delete your orders. We don't do that. So we'll keep your orders up and running either until it hits that price and the order executes, or you decide to remove it.
Next question is, can we move our stuff from Kalen Brown to a 401k?
So yeah, the short answer is yes. Unfortunately, we used to actually onboard 401ks and IRAs. At this stage, we have scrapped that. I believe you can move your assets from Calvin Brown to a 401k, but you maybe just want to be aware of any potential tax implications of doing that, and maybe speak to a tax or an accountant in general about the best way to do that. What I would say is that if you already hold crypto with us and you do want to move it out to a 401k, just speak to your broker first about it. As I said, our brokers are super experienced. They have tons of experience around everything in relation to crypto. So have that chat with your broker first. They can help direct you on the best way to move forward in that regard.
Okay, so talk to your broker at Caleb Brown. Sounds good to me. Some of you guys, some of your questions will have to just refer to a broker because they involve a lot of areas that, unless you're a certified public accountant or this and that, so we can't really talk about certain things, but your broker will be able to give you a crypto perspective from their company. And then questions that your broker can't answer because they're not a licensed whatever it might be in CPA or whatever, then they would refer you to that specific area of law to deal with that professional to get the best answer. So let's go to the next question. Lions Den Dan, thanks for that donation. Also, Caleb Brown has a person that you can talk to. Ask Coinbase to pick up their phone. Look, I've never dealt, I'll tell you what, I've only bought crypto from one crypto site, maybe two. I bought Dogecoin on Uphold, kept it there, and then when I 100%ed my money or doubled it, then I just sold it right back. I've never used any other site. It really, Caleb Brown and this other site I'm not going to talk about, I bought it at. But somebody's saying here, if you've ever bought it on Coinbase, you can't get any help. Look, I'm just curious. If you guys have Coinbase or Uphold or some of these other, do they have somebody on their show like me? No. Like they don't. This Caleb Brown company is dedicated to us. That's why they're here. How dedicated are other exchanges? Like I would never put my money on, I kept my money on Uphold Exchange for about 48 hours. That's it. I invested, I think, $1,000 in Doge. And when I went up to 2,000 or 2,500, I sold it right off. And then, so that's about, but see, there's nobody, if I have a problem at any of these other, at any exchange or whatever, like you don't have people that get on shows like this. So this person, Lions Den Dan, thanks for that comment. Let's go to the next article. So, oh, another one. Hey, we learned about a company, Jim. It's a real company in America and in Switzerland. It's called Seals Q. Are you familiar with that company at all?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay. Seals Q is a real company. You can buy stock in. I think it's $2 to $3. And you can go on like Webull or whatever. You don't have to be a credit investor or nothing. You can buy the stock. Um, they're working with WiseSat, and WiseSat's working with SpaceX. What Seals Q is doing is having post-quantum hardware. They tested it, and it comes out that it blocks quantum attacks. So what they're working with is HBAR, which is a crypto. HBAR is the company, and we all know that Algorand, HBAR, and Ripple are now all working together. So probably this Seals Q company is utilizing HBAR, Algorand, and Ripple to get this stuff done. Seals Q is coming out with their own crypto to help facilitate a lot of this. It's called Seal Coin, like a seal, SEAL, and then coin. A lot of the people on the show now they're going to have. We signed up on this channel. We went to Seal Coin's website, and I personally signed up to get information about when they're going to release this crypto. That's because this crypto is going to be utilized to perform quantum, post-quantum protection or whatever. But we were wondering if you guys could look into Seals Coin and maybe the company Seals Q, determine how legitimate they are. And if you're able to have Seal Coin, we would absolutely love that. Because basically I read about HBAR, probably pops up my show every week at least. They're coming up with something with Seals Q, or Seals Q is doing something. And so far, I would say HBAR is my third biggest crypto, and I always see it in the news making advancements and stuff. So we're very interested in Seals Q, if you guys, or the Seal Coin, if you guys could look that one up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking to look at the website now. Looks like it's powered by HBAR, or they're leveraging some sort of aspect of Hedera's DLT. But yeah, this looks like a very interesting project. We'll certainly do our research on it. I'm not sure if it's tied specifically to Seals Q Corp, like the public company. You've done way more research on this than I have. But yeah, I'll have a look into it. We'll have a look into it as a team. If they have listed the asset or they're about to, we can look at to potentially listing it as well. If that's something that the team and yourself have high conviction in.
Oh man, because I told them, like, because I research Seals Q a lot. I've been following them about a year on my program, watching what they're doing. And they had a proof of test just recently. I think it was in Europe or something, and it passed. And they were showing everybody how they can effectively stop a quantum attack. And right now they're going to start selling their technology starting in August, or the last quarter of this year. They're going to start utilizing their technology in real world products. And I'm like, oh, damn. And if they use that Seal Coin, I told everybody, let's get in on that like right away if they offer it. So that would be something if you can put on your little notepad and have somebody look up Seal Coin and kind of look, because this is a little area that I follow very closely. And the minute I see anything about any of this related to Seals Q, boom, it's on the show. And we're all kind of tracking and waiting, and it's like, and I know there's risk involved or whatever, but I'd be willing. Yeah, I'd love to see what your guys can do with that. But let's go on to the next question. Scrim de la Creme, thanks for that donation. Any opportunity to invest in the company Caleb and Brown? Oh yeah. So are you guys on the stock market or what?
No, we're a privately listed company, and yeah, at this stage, I don't think we've ever taken any outside investment. Yeah, I don't think we have any plans to at this stage as well. We'll certainly let you guys know if anything happens in terms of going public and things of that nature. But at this stage, we're a privately listed company, and I don't think we're raising right now.
Okay, Crypto Cowboy. Good evening, General Halt. Question. Thanks for the donation. If one would decide to cash out, how long can Caleb Brown hold your money?
How long could we hold your money, or how long until we?
I mean, normally,
let's
say there's no legal issues going on or nothing. Just if I want to say, hey Jim, I want to cash out, and you verify me and everything, like from start to finish, what would be like an average cash out time? 4 hours, 12 hours, 24, like what? 1 hour, 5 minutes, like what?
So if we're talking cash out into a bank, that would probably be one business day, 2 business days. Again, it's very dependent. It usually gets to a point where, as you mentioned, we'll verify the withdrawal request, and then it will go to our bank. We'll work with your US bank. It's totally up to your bank in terms of how long it takes them to process that withdrawal. That's almost at that point out of our hands. But I would say 1 to 2 business days when we're talking about withdrawing US dollars to you back to your bank account. If we're talking in terms of withdrawing assets, say your crypto or your USDC to your own wallet, that is usually, within the day, I would say. But again, it's totally dependent on whether you're doing it through a bank or whether you're withdrawing it to your wallet. But it's quite a quick process on our end, and then it's up to the banks in terms of how long it takes your bank to process that withdrawal.
Okay, so some of you guys, I want you to understand something. I want you to be ahead of the curve. So if you want to withdraw, or if you have a limit or something in your head, think of it like this. If there's a bull run, or if there's like, well, I guess we're already pretty much as low as we can get in crypto. I guess we're at the bottom, if you want to call it that. I guess it could get worse, but it's pretty low. If most of these cryptos we're buying are 2 cents up to 30 cents, that's pretty fucking low at that point. But let's just think though, you guys need to be ahead. Because if you got 10 million people and they're contacting Bank of America, guess what? So what you need to do is start thinking about alternative plans. Have at least 2 or 3 plans set up, because if you think if something happens up, I'm going to cash out XRP, it's $10 or $100 or whatever. I'm going to cash out 10% or 50%. I want you to think everybody else will be doing the same thing. So you get on the phone with Caleb Brown, they're going to have 10 million people trying to call them. And then once that's done, everybody's calling B of A and Wells Fargo and whatever. So it's going to be a mess. So if you need to do something, make sure it's done early, or figure out what your plans are, talk to your bank, ask them. But see, then again, if your bank works on appointment only or whatever, you might have 100 people in front of you, and it might be like next week before you'd be able to deal with you. I've dealt with this. So that's just for your information.
Yeah, I think when it comes to what we call as off-ramping, when it comes to selling out of your crypto winnings into a bank account, we make that process as secure but as efficient and seamless as possible with us. So we won't charge you any withdrawal fees. There's no limits as well. So let's just say you do really well and you want to withdraw, I don't know, $500,000 of US dollars. Other platforms or exchanges will limit you to say $10,000 a day. We'll do the full 500K in one go. And we'll try and get that process done for you as quickly as possible. As Hulk mentioned, sometimes the banks take a little longer to process these things. Although as a business, we usually find they never have any issues actually, receiving money. It's usually the other way, where if you want to deposit with us, sometimes they ask questions, but they never usually have any issues when it comes to sending our clients money back to their bank account. So off-ramping is really important. It's really important to have some sort of profit taking strategy or exit strategy when it comes to your portfolio, and then obviously executing on it when the time comes. But that's our bread and butter in terms of making sure that you're well looked after when it comes to selling out and then withdrawing to your bank account quickly and efficiently.
Somebody had a question, and Justin Steven. Now listen, we're not going to answer this question. I think it's a trick question. Is there any way for an individual to get around governments that don't allow Caleb Brown to operate in their country? Yeah, so let's advise somebody how to do something illegal. Let's go to the next question. Let's see here. Positive waves. Wait, we already read that one. Okay. Let me back up here. We've got Preston Reed says, how secure is the Caleb and Brown mobile app? It's really easy to access and navigate through.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Preston must be one of our early test users. Just for those on this call, our mobile app isn't actually fully live yet, so we're in the final stages of testing. We've been using it with anywhere from 200 to 500 clients just to test that it works all fine. There's no bugs. In terms of its security, Preston, it's exactly the same as if you were to use the web portal or go through your broker individually, right? It still has all the same security protocols. Your assets are still stored in cold storage through your mobile app. So it's the exact same as if you were just going to use your laptop. And in terms of when that app will go live, we're hoping it will go live later this year. We just want to make sure that the app works as best possible. So when it does go live, it's working really fine and well for all of our clients.
Question. This is kind of a cool question. Let's say XRP, it's $10,000. Um, how fast can I get out of it if I email my broker? Okay, so Jim, I look at my phone. My friends are blowing up my phone, telling me, "Hey, Crypto Hulk, XRP at $10,000. Time to sell off like half." So I'm thinking I'm going to be in a yacht somewhere with millions of dollars. Uh, this guy's funny. Christian. Okay, so walk me through it. I get on my app. It's, let's say right now, so I know Caleb Brown's open. Can I email my broker? Like, how do I do this?
Yeah, so there's two ways you can do it. In that scenario, you can either log into your own portal, so whether that's on a laptop or on your mobile, log into your own account. You'll be able to see the $10,000 XRP figure and whatever amount that you hold with us. You can then go into the swap section and say you want to swap that into US dollars. You would then be able to execute the trade yourself, and it would be done in real time. So as soon as you execute it and it gets approved, we'll process the transaction or get done. If, however, you wanted to not do that process, you wanted to go through your broker yourself, you could get up your Gmail or whatever email service you use. You could type in your broker's email. You would then email your broker essentially saying, "Hey, broker," whatever their name is, "I want to sell half of my XRP right now into US dollars." You would email them. That trade would then get executed within a couple minutes. And then you'd get an approval email that essentially saying, "Yep, that trade's been executed. Here's now how much US dollars you hold with us based on the rate that we were able to sell that XRP at."
Okay, so it's safe to
So
say.
portal or email.
So, okay, so I'm going to talk just on how I prefer to do it, and you guys can do it any other way. So, I'm going to go to my email that I normally use and tell them when I normally buy and sell, but I'm going to say sell half of my XRP. So, on average, we're talking within minutes, probably 5 minute average at the longest. Uh, or what would you say would be an average time frame for them to do that? If I send off an email like I normally do for buying and selling, but this one says sell half my XRP, about how many minutes on average would you say that is done?
I would say within a couple of minutes. So as you can
Okay.
imagine, our brokers are getting emails, by the minute from all of our clients, but we have a way internally to track any emails that are actual trade requests. So as you can imagine, our brokers get emails about a whole range of things that aren't trades, but we'll actually be able to prioritize, and we do prioritize emails that are trade requests. So you can rest assured, again, there are scenarios where sometimes it's longer lead time depending on the asset, but within the minute, usually that trade will get executed. And your broker will usually reply to you saying, "Yep, no worries, processing this transaction now." And then, as I mentioned, you'll get another email once that transaction's actually been approved. So it's quite a quick process.
Okay, sounds good. Let's look through here. Ron Weber says, have completed over 60 trades. Oh my God. All of them went perfect, never had to complain. Always fast, perfect trades. Well, that's pretty good. You've been busy. I haven't made that many, but okay. Um, let's see. Now, here's a question. Why can I not hold the private key or at least part of it? And I think Jim might have something to do with security reasons. Jim, what's your answer? Somebody wants to know why they can't have their private keys.
Yeah, it's just the security angle and component of how we operate and do custody here at Caleb Brown. So you create an account and holding assets with us. We handle all of the headache when it comes to custody for you. That's part of the service. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, as I mentioned at the start, that's totally fine. Like we have a lot of clients that will use us to execute trades, but then they want to use their own hardware wallet to store the assets in. That's fine. Our brokers can help you either set that up or help you when it comes to withdrawing your assets to your hardware wallet. So we're not against cold storage at all, when it's done on a personal level. We just want to ensure that our clients are confident and comfortable doing so. So if you want to hold the private key to your own crypto yourself, that's fine. You'd need to buy your own hardware wallet, and we could help move your assets over to that hardware wallet. It's just dependent on what works best for you.
Yeah, it's like I go to Caleb Brown because I want them and to utilize the Fireblocks, which is what all these banks, 1,800 banks and institutions use. And if a person wants their own keys, take out part of your crypto and put it in your own hardware wallet. Now you got your own keys. There you go. Let's go to the next question. Let's see. Onboard SM. What scenario do you envision? You mean Caleb Brown goes under? Ron Weber says, I had my funds locked up for 3 weeks with Coinbase, but never had an issue with Caleb Brown. Very happy.
Yeah, we're never going to lock up client fees, client assets. They're your assets. You should be able to do what you want with them. The only scenario where what we call at CMBS freezing your account is if you reach out to us and think you've been compromised. Again, this is part of the personalized service. So if something happens to you where your email gets hacked, maybe your phone gets compromised and SIM swapped, you can contact your broker about freezing your account. And that just means internally we make sure that no assets are leaving your account. If, say, someone emails us pretending to be you, it's just a security protocol we have in place. But we're never closing accounts or making sure that you can't access your assets. That's never part of what we do as business.
Somebody says, Sammy Ben, his last name is Benn, says, oh my God, Coinbase customer service is like the 5th circle of hell. My God, it's but look, that's why we have Caleb Brown on our show. That's why you can call when you set up your account and you have a broker, you have a broker. You can call them up and say, hey, should I buy $500 worth of this? Or, can you refer me to help me understand if I should buy this one or that one? Like, do you have any articles or, I don't know, like whatever questions you have a broker to call up and stuff. And that's why we have them on the show right here. We got Scrim de la Creme says, big fan of Caleb and Brown and how they offer Fireblocks security, operate 24/7 and speak fluent English. Although the Australians do have a funny accent, by the way.
That's fair. That's fair.
Is there an opportunity to invest? No, you can't invest in Caleb Brown. It's a closed private company, but okay. Let me look through here. Some people are happy about that seal coin. Look, you guys, they'll check it out. And if it's something that they're going to get, they'll get. And if they don't, then we can buy it somewhere else. Sometimes they might feel, and I don't know, maybe this is a bogus bullshit coin. I have no idea. We all have to risk. But so far, it seems very highly legit. So, but whatever, just. Let's look here. We're getting right near the end of all the questions. Positive waves. Oh, is it true that Caleb Brown may open an office in Florida? Yeah, what was that answer again?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Oh,
I don't know
whoa.
if I'm allowed to like officially announce it, so please take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. We haven't publicly announced that we've opened an office yet. But as I've mentioned probably on a few of these calls now, a lot of our clients are based in America. So we want to double down and making sure that we're providing the top tier service and the best service possible for our Americans. And that includes actually having an office that they can come into, meet their broker in person, but also alleviate some of the concerns around, we are based in Australia. I know that some people get a little caught up on that. So we are in the process of creating and setting up and establishing a US office. Um, Please don't take that as confirmation yet. You'll be the first to know once it's live and public. But certainly it is something that we're looking to prioritize, and we should have an office presence within the US later this year.
Wow, that is so awesome. Like, that is cool. Like, I'm looking forward to XRP Las Vegas. My only reason for going there would be to visit Caleb Brown and to meet you guys if you want to show up at their booth or whatever. Um, so I'm looking forward to seeing a couple of people that work for Caleb Brown. It's fun. For me, this is fun. I like the company. I love the people working there and the way that they do business. And that's why I have an interactive show, right? It's not recorded. It's not 15 minutes. It's off the top chat. You can ask me something. Jim, this is all live for everybody. I don't like pre-recorded shows. So I like the fact that Caleb Brown is in an interactive program, and I love the company. So that's why I work hard promoting them as an affiliate, because it's and you guys have seen me for 5 years. I pretty much trash talk just about every single project and channel on the world. But I'm not saying anything bad about this one, am I? Okay, Fam Crypto says, "What's up, Big Hulk and Caleb Brown? So glad Caleb Brown are involved with this information. Caleb Brown is a hell of a company. They stand alone. Freaking awesome. Well, just like Crypto Hulk Show now. Don't don't let them get all the shine. Now I gotta have fun when I do this job. Are they opening a location near Vegas? No, we just said maybe Florida. You never know. I'll leave it at that. Um, some more questions popped up all of a sudden. That's weird. Let's go down to Stephen Morris. It's hard for me to believe, hypothetically speaking, to XRP going to 5 figures, that Caleb Brown wouldn't have that liquidity to cash out. What do you say on that? If all of a sudden XRP goes to 10,000 bucks, are you going to be able to cash me out, or am I going to have to wait a day or two, or how's this going to go?
No, no, we'll be able to cash you out straight away. So part of the business that we offer for our clients is that we leverage a whole bunch of different liquidity providers to pull through our liquidity for clients. So we use OTC desks, we use DEX, we use central exchanges, we use different liquidity providers. So we're constantly pulling liquidity from a whole range of different places to get trades done. If you, though, hold those assets with us already, so if you hold your XRP with us and it appreciates to $10,000 as an example, we'll be able to execute that trade because that's the market value for the asset. So it's not like, if your asset continues to rise in price, we don't have the asset there available, because that's not how we operate as a business. All of our clients' assets are held one for one. It's stored in cold storage. So when the time comes for you to execute the trade, you just hold $10,000 of XRP. You just hold whatever XRP that you hold with us, but it'll be worth a different amount, which is $10,000. So the quantity you hold with us remains the same. So if the price increases, that's no issue for us. If that's the market price, we'll be able to execute that in real time and ensure that gets done. So that will never change.
Okay, so maybe I'm not getting it. If I give you 5,000, let's say if I transfer 5,000 XRP to you guys in my hardware wallet, do you
Mhm.
guys then go buy 5,000 XRP to back it up?
No, so what we do is your XRP, that 5,000 XRP would be vaulted away in cold storage. And then what we actually do is, let's just say that you decide to sell out of that 5,000 XRP into US dollars, as an example. Instead of us then moving your assets from your cold wallet to one of our liquidity providers and executing the trade, we'll actually use our own working capital. So we use our own liquidity. We'll use our own XRP that we already hold on a number of these OTC desks. We'll execute the trade through our own XRP. And then what we'll do is we'll actually settle it up in the back end to ensure that, say you sell that 5,000 XRP into US dollars, that US dollars is in your cold wallet, and that, you know, the XRP that we used on our side on your behalf, we settle that up. So what that ultimately means is that your assets always sit there. We'll actually execute the trades ourselves with our own liquidity, but it means that there's no risk of client assets ever being compromised or, you know, being held on an exchange or what have you. So that's how it works.
Caleb Gilmore has a question. Why are some assets on Caleb Brown unavailable to buy, but can withdraw?
Yeah, so there are some assets that we list, but there are limitations on them, whether that's just allowing you to deposit or sell out of them. Again, it's really to do with a whole range of reasons. One of the main ones is the liquidity aspect. We want to provide a way in which clients can sell that asset. So sometimes we'll have to sell off-ramp rails to sell it. But in terms of buying that asset for clients, it may be a little trickier for us to do. So we provide that optionality, but we don't always provide the full optionality. So it comes down to how we can actually access the asset for clients. And we don't want to have a scenario where they can buy it through us, but then maybe they can't successfully sell out of it. So that's some of the reasons why some assets have a limited functionality with what you can do with us.
Stu Lavelle has a comment. It says, we have a funny accent, and he has some laughing emojis. It says, we have a funny accent, and then he's laughing over there. Someone else says, they wish Crypto Hulk had an Aussie accent. And I'm like, no. You guys got the funny accent, not me. And then people from England, they got the funny accent. Like they were around before America was even born. And somehow Americans say, well, the English have a funny accent. And they're like, the English are like, what are you talking about? We were here before there was even an America. So and then you get people in America, you get the New York, I'm from New York. And then they talk funny when you compare them to somebody from Texas, or if somebody lives in Alabama, I'm living in Brunsville, Alabama. And then the California people like, everybody sounds nuts in this country. What the hell's going on? It's funny how America, depends on where you're living, you talk differently. It's just strange. We're going to have to wrap this up. I got Scrim de la Creme, got a donation here. If you have a large sum of Circle sitting in Caleb Brown, is it protected by Fireblocks? Jim? Yes.
A large sum.
If you have a large, like, I don't know, I guess either you transfer it to them or you guys buy let's say I buy $500,000 worth of Circle. Yeah, everything there. Yeah, it would be. Is Circle protected with the Fireblocks program that you guys have, or is that you guys with a special wallet or something?
Yes, I mean, every client that holds assets with us, so any asset that you move over to Caleb Brown, it's immediately stored in cold storage. So every asset, or I would say yeah, all assets that are stored with us are stored in cold storage. So as soon as you create an account, you'll get your wallets. All of those wallets are tied to the Fireblocks custody solution, and they're stored in cold storage.
Okay, last question. I think I got one. I've heard on exchanges that if my money's on an exchange, I actually had Bitstamp send me an email. You know what? I think I did buy $500 worth of Bitstamp like 5 years ago. I bought $500 worth of XRP on Bitstamp 5 years ago or something, and I'm pretty sure I took all of it off. But anyhow, I got this letter stating, oh, we're going to take your crypto if you don't claim it or something or whatever. Then you hear people that have money on a, let's say, an exchange, and either that exchange gets hacked or something happens, and then that exchange takes the customer's crypto to pay their bills. How is Caleb Brown different than that? Like, if something were to happen with creditors or I don't know what, how are you guys different than like an exchange when it comes to like the term? Here's the terms: account holder and then account owner. Two different. So if you're an account holder at these companies, they can take your stuff and sell it. But account owners in America, account owner means I own the account. You can't take my crypto to pay your bills. How does it work at Caleb and Brown?
Yeah, so I mean, if something was to happen to Caleb Brown, as I mentioned before, all assets are stored one for one. So the way in which we would operate in terms of, say, the company was winding down was the first thing that we would do as a business is we would return all of our client assets back to their rightful owners, which are the owner of the account. Now, the difference between some of the past issues we've seen around, say, like FTX, as an example, which was the largest exchange at the time, was simply in just like the fine print of what essentially it meant to hold your assets with them. No one really read the fine print there, but essentially within the fine print of an exchange like FTX was if you were holding your crypto assets with them, you essentially ceding ownership to them. So they can essentially became the owner of your assets. I don't know if that's the same for all exchanges these days, but with us and how it operates is we're just custodying the assets on your behalf. So you're still the rightful owner of those assets. We never do anything unless we have the permission of the client. So if something was to happen to us, you're the owner of those assets. Now, we have a business, we have our own liquidity that is tied to the business. So if creditors were going to come after us, they're coming after our revenue and our profits as a business. They would not be able to come after the actual client assets because we don't own those assets. You own them.
Okay.
So without getting into the legal technicalities of it all, that's how it would operate.
Okay, so that's good because now I know I'm kind of using a crude example, but I just went to a company called Private Storage. It's like a storage facility, and I'm paying $20 a month for a 5x5 storage. Because I just got a couple closets and I wanted to put some of the stuff in this little tiny storage unit. It's like $22 a month, American dollars. Okay, so that storage facility owns a whole, but it owns the land and it rents the lockers to certain people. Now, if private storage goes bankrupt, they can't. Now, you got to read the fine print, like Jim was saying with the FTX and all this stuff. But when private storage, the company that I'm using, if they go bankrupt, it's not like they're going to go into my storage unit, take out all of my, let's call it crypto, and pay their bills because it's my stuff, you know? So at Caleb Brown, they provide storage units we call cold storage. And who protects that is Fireblocks, who protects 1,800 banks and institutions around the world. So basically, they're running a storage facility. It's different at Caleb Brown. They're not using your crypto to go lend to somebody else. They're not, at Caleb Brown, they're not using your crypto to sell and to pay someone else's debt. Your crypto, from what they're telling us, is in cold storage with Fireblocks. So Caleb Brown is completely different than like an exchange because your crypto is your crypto. They're not digging their hands into different things. Okay, let me take out all the Crypto Hulk's H-bar, which is $10 million worth, and we'll pay them back next week. They don't do that at Caleb Brown. So that would help answer your question, just like Caleb Brown was saying. They're not digging into people's storage lockers, taking your stuff, and then hopefully next week we can pay Crypto Hulk back. So that's the difference with the FTX. You didn't read the fine print, and if they were doing stuff, it was just that. I'm going to rob from Peter to pay Paul, and what they should have done is just kept their hands off, but totally different business models. So I think we're done. Where are we at? About an hour and 20 minutes or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wind it down. If you didn't have your question answered, then then you can go probably in a couple weeks from now. We'll have Caleb Brown back again. And Jim, after this, I have something to ask you. Okay, so I'm going to call you on the other line.
Perfect.
All right, everybody,
Perfect.
that'll be the end of this show. Let me end this program once I figure out how to turn this thing off. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow morning. I'm working on a show, and that will be all for today. I'll see you tomorrow. That will be all for today. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Well, it looks like it's
I'm trying to figure out how to turn this thing off. Oh, end stream. Okay.